4 February 1965. Dearest Suzie, how are you and the boys getting along? Things are pretty quiet over here right now. This is the Oriental New Year season, and an unofficial truce has been called for a few days. We are still working with our usual missions, but no troop lifts. Last night I had OD, so I was up all night. Then this morning I took a flight for 2 hours, so I didn't get to sleep till 2 o'clock this afternoon. So I just passed out for a few hours. I'm afraid this will be a real short letter, but at least you will know that I'm thinking of you all. As I am all the time. Time seems to be dragging on me again, and it seems as though it is forever till I get to come home. I love you all very much. I will try to write a better letter tomorrow when I'm a little more awake. All my love. Bill. Popi had 2 letters addressed on the 4th. I doubt that they were both written that day. More likely, he got one of them wrong, and it was actually the 2nd, or the 3rd, or the 5th. Either way, I'll read both today. Here's the next one. February 4, 1965. Dearest Suzie, sorry I waited so long to write, but I was kind of waiting to get a letter from you, and I haven't. It's not your fault, though. They haven't gotten any in the last 2 days. You remember I was worried before I came over here about having to take a check ride when I get back to the States to renew my instrument ticket. Well, I don't have that problem now, at least. I will have until March 16th, 1966 to renew it. I went out yesterday with an examiner and flew hood for an hour and a half and renewed my ticket. I was sure glad to get that out of the way. We also had an awards ceremony yesterday afternoon, and I got my first air medal. Things are pretty quiet now. We had a troop lift today, but it didn't amount to very much. I will start to work in our armed platoon Saturday morning. I'm sort of looking forward to doing something different. I'm going to quit for tonight. I love you very much and can hardly wait to get home to see you all. Just think, we are almost halfway. All my love, Bill. P.S. I still didn't get that camera back. They are evidently sending it by boat mail. Would you mind sneaking me some of those slides we made before I left of you and the boys in the next letter you write? Love, Bill. If you haven't listened to the past few episodes yet, you'll likely be a bit lost for the rest of today's episode. Long story short, I've split up a piece of writing of mine, and I'm presenting it across a few episodes. I recommend going back and listening to the earlier part. Anyway, here's Finding My Grief, Part 4. Mema, I stated, in amazement after she finished her story about how she and Popi started their life together. How come I've never heard that before? She laughed to herself. I guess no one's ever asked. Well, thank you, I replied. So why did he join the army? As you know, his family was very poor, and he was the oldest of 7. He didn't want to be a dairy farmer like his father, and he had an uncle that told him the best thing to do would be to join the service, so he did, even before he graduated high school. Just left straight from Sanford and never looked back. It actually took months after we got married for him to tell the army to send his paychecks to our bank account. As soon as he joined the service, he sent all his money to his mother to help with his siblings. He loved his parents and wanted to do whatever he could to help them. We just needed the money more since we wanted to start our own family. Wow. I didn't realize he cared that much about everyone. Mema laughed. Oh yeah, we almost didn't get married since I was a Yankee, Hungarian, and a Catholic, but Mrs. Lowie could see how much Pop wanted to marry me and eventually gave us her blessing. Especially after I let her teach me how to cook. Mr. Lowie, on the other hand, loved me from the start. They were great people. And sorry, Al, I don't remember what his favorite book was. Okay, I responded. Well, what was it like when you had your kids? Kid number 1. Well, we had the first just before Germany, soon after we got married, but we quickly returned to the U.S. after. Pop was an officer at the time and got promoted to being a drill sergeant. Germany was fun, and I wish we could have stayed, but the base was no place to raise a kid. We did have a dog when we were over there, but had to return it because it didn't speak English. So what about yours next, your second, Mema? Any reason why he doesn't have a middle name? Kid number 2. He was born in North Carolina. Popi was out in the field on a training exercise when I went into labor, and he refused to come to the hospital to help me during the pregnancy. He hadn't shown up by the time the baby came out, and I kept having one of the other officers' wives call the field to update him and ask what he wanted to name the new baby, but he was so impatient with me that he told me he didn't care and that it was up to me. They wouldn't let me take the baby out of the hospital without naming it, but I couldn't come up with any names. Finally, a nurse suggested his name, and that was that. I couldn't think of any other names and just wanted to go home, so I didn't give him a middle name. That's why his middle initial is S. It stands for space. I laughed. That's not surprising about Popi, I said through a chuckle. Kid number 3. The third was born in Alabama, or was it Georgia, when Popi was training to fly helicopters. By the time he came around, Pop knew I was mad at him for not being there with the second, and as soon as he got the call that I was in labor, he rushed back from training. When I got to the hospital, a nurse said, "Don't worry, Mrs. Lowie, your husband will be here for the baby." But I knew that was wrong. The baby wanted to come out, and he was born before Popi could get there. His middle name is Alexander, after my brother. And then my parents told him I'm named after him, which I don't think is actually true. We both laughed. Child 4. Then there was your father. I had him after Pop returned from Vietnam. He was born in Orlando. Pop started fishing when your dad was 4.5 and was gone for a lot of his childhood. The photo I chose for today shows many American soldiers standing at ease in the Boulevard of state flags in Vinh Long. It looks like some command officers walking across the frame. Could this be an award ceremony? I'm Alex Lowie, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie, and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.